What is the value of a very long prog song?
On Triumphia, we have a 23-minute long song. That was literally a goal. I was like, I want to write a song that's 20 minutes long because you know what? Some of my favorite bands have done it. It, I'm going to do it.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in Tony from Imminent Sonic Destruction. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing very well. Thank you.
I'm
How are
using my
you?
I'm using my NPR voice. I'm real good.
I can bust
uh,
out the NPR voice.
Welcome to Fresh Air, the Metal Edition. You
Yep.
know what's funny is I said off air that I have followed your band for a long time and we've never talked, but I
Yeah.
always it's always like the name always made me think of like a much different band than when you
Yep.
hear it, and I think that was on purpose. But like, let's what's in a name anyway?
This is a cool story, I think. So when we first formed in 2007, we were actually called Mellotron. The same, name as the instrument. And we had like kind of like a manager. He emailed the owner of the copyright for the name Mellotron and said, "Hey, we're a band. We just want to get your blessing to use this name." And so then we went on for 3 years under that name and made a EP and played some shows and stuff. And that guy never responded. So so we're like, all right, well, we're just gonna keep on going. And then we're recording what would become Recurring Themes, our first album. And that's when the guy replied. And he was a jerk. I
Ouch.
mean, he didn't just respond with like, no, we're not okay with this. Please don't use it. No, he was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. If you even try it, I'm gonna sue you. And like went on and on and on. So obviously a name change was due. Now, the entire time that we were Mellotron, we had a slogan, and that was the imminent sonic destruction, which of course is taken from a Hawkwind song. So, and we would actually play that Sonic Attack intro at our live shows, and end it with imminent sonic destruction, and then we would, hit the first notes. So we actually had like a ton of names that we were trying to change to. Like Antenna was almost the one, and that one, yeah, that's all right, Antenna. But there was already bands called Antenna, so it did, just didn't really stick. And then we were like, why don't we just call ourselves Imminent Sonic Destruction? Can I cuss on this, by the
You
way?
can
Or
curse
oh yeah,
all you
all
want.
right, good.
You're so
So
polite. Are you
yeah,
Canadian?
hey, I'm very close to Canada.
Oh,
I
there you
mean,
go.
it's like 30 miles that way. So
Oh, okay. Whereabouts are you?
I'm in Detroit,
No
just
way.
outside of
Okay.
Detroit, Michigan. So
All right.
yeah, right across the Detroit River is
One of the birthplaces of rock in the whole
that.
country.
Yeah, dude, Bob Seger, let's go.
Bob
And others.
Seger, Iggy Pop, Romantics,
Hmm,
a
hmm.
lot of great bands from there. Yeah, that's it. That's amazing. He was a jerk. Oh, people who don't remember, there was a period of time before you had like three or four choices for keyboards, and it was like Fender Rhodes piano, Mellotron, Hammond B3,
Hmm.
and maybe like a few other things. A giant room of computers that you'd like turn a knob,
And
like
then a
Pink
bunch of
Floyd or
like
ELP.
switching.
A lot of switches, a lot of plugging things in like a
Yep.
phone operator. But yeah, the it's a shame because the Mellotron's awesome. I can't really think of a modern. Maybe some of the stoner rocky bands do it now.
Hmm.
Psychedelic rock bands will do it, but like I think the last new song I heard with a Mellotron that wasn't a subgenre of rock or metal was like "Shiny Happy People" by REM and the B-52s, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then before that, it was like "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." So
Yeah.
it's
Right.
it's a gap.
I think
Probably a lot.
Radiohead had on OK
Radio,
Computer, there was a
yes,
Mellotron.
Radiohead has lots of
But
fun.
other than that, if you're
Things.
not a prog band, I couldn't think of it being used in a
I
long
mean,
time.
somebody out there is doing it. We just don't know who. They're not cheap, by the way, to get one
No,
anymore. It's just I
I wish.
yeah, same. And then also, it would be fitting for you to play one. Where can I get new Moog Taurus pedals? You can't. You gotta get a
No, no
broken one
such
and
thing.
fix it. Like that's
We have a
the
MIDI pedal that we use as a Taurus pedal.
yes.
Our guy Scott plays it. So
I hear it. You can hear it. And so I'm
yeah,
all about it. I'm all about it. The band is, over 15 years old. How did you guys form in the first place before we unpack and talk about this awesome new album?
way back in the day, just fresh out of high school, I was 19, 20. I was living at my dad's, and I was working, and then I come home and I would just write and record. I had a little computer setup and a Line 6 Flex Tone 2, which you could record direct to. And I learned how to do some MIDI programming from drums, and I was writing my demos. And eventually those demos actually got kind of good enough to where a friend of mine, John Kagi Katzian, who ran YetsyJam.com, he's like, dude, these are actually pretty good. And a couple of years go by, and he's like, you guys got you have to you have to put a band together. If you don't, I will. And then he did, with guys I knew, Pat, of course, coming from Tiles, and our keyboardist Pete coming from Space Nelson, um, Scott Thompson, who was also in Space Nelson at one point, but also was writing his own solo albums. And then the bass player, Brian, I actually knew Brian on my own. Kagi said, basically emailed all of us and is like, you need to make this happen. And even if it's just one show. And so that's what it was going to be. It was going to be one show that we all got together at Pat's house. We jammed my demos, and we played 2 shows, and it was just like, yeah, we gotta keep going. So, and we did.
That's amazing. I think often when master musicians get a bad rep because I think people's impression of this kind of genre of music is that these virtuosic people get together but they can't collaborate to write a song. So
Mm-hmm.
as much as you can shred and play, and all the players in this band are amazing, but the real gift I think as a band is that you guys listen and collaborate and write well, because if you don't have songs, it's just a bunch of noodling on top of each
Mm-hmm.
other, and nobody wants this. This is, we don't want to play down to the stereotype we have always had as prog nerds. So I
Right.
really have always appreciated, just across your whole career, the songwriting, these full albums that are very thoughtful and purposeful. And
Thank you.
I've never had a song that I skipped in your whole band, which is very rare in my whole gig. So
uh
I'm always appreciative of a band that cares and puts a lot of effort into writing.
Thank you. That's kind of like the ultimate compliment. I mean, when we put together an album, we're not just trying to put together a collection of 8 to 12 songs. We're trying to put together an album that is taking you on a journey from song 1 to song, whatever the last song on the album. So I appreciate that you
Yeah,
noticed that, and the compliments.
you're welcome. And so, segueing correctly into this new album, The Sun Will Always Set, is
Yeah.
coming April 15th. Another album of, just this big journey musically. A
Yeah.
lot of stuff to unpack there. Out of curiosity, and the last couple of years have been a bear. I still don't feel like we're totally out of this,
Yeah.
but I
Same.
sincerely hope you and the band are all well and have made it through, hopefully unscathed. But this album, did you was this sort of in the works before in the before times and came about during, or is this something you guys were like, well, we can't go anywhere, I guess we're gonna write this record?
It would be really cool to say that it was pandemic born, but actually these songs, some of the songs, Fledgling in particular, was written well before the pandemic times. It was actually like 2017. I started working on on like Fledgling and the first version of Arise, and I had like some riffs for Nightshade. Those were all done and ready and kind of not fully written, but ready to go. And later, just before the pandemic, songs like The Sun Will Always Set and Source and The Core came about. So it was all pre-pandemic, and we recorded, God, I want to say, was it just before? I think it might have been just before everyone got locked down. And then that's when the shit hit the fan, so it was like we were waiting to mix, and we never really got back together. Like we still had like keyboards to finish, vocals to finish. So all that was during the pandemic. And then of course, it just took forever to mix because we're very picky. I'm very picky.
Nice. I often say it's funny that young bands don't self-edit because everything sounds awesome to you, and then
Right.
some veteran bands that are very successful don't self-edit because they feel like, well, I'm like a superstar ball player. Everything's a home run. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But I think like a smart band self edits and says this isn't good enough, or this needs more work, or this goes back to the drawing board for later or another
Hmm.
time. And I do feel like as a guitarist, maybe you can add some credence to this. I always feel like a guitar players have a bag of riffs laying around. Oh, that thing I didn't finish when I was 18 that was cool that
Yeah.
I got tired of. Now I'm going to bring it back. There's always something.
Yeah, for the most part, and for myself personally, it's not necessarily a riff, but maybe a song that I started but never finished. I have a few of those like in the bag, if you will. But as far as like that creative process where you're taking the stuff that that might have been laying around, like kind of like some of the couple of the songs on this album, actually, when that time comes to finish it up, and there's kind of nothing better than that.
Indeed, indeed. Another thing that always impressed me, and it's super prominent on this record, is you have multiple people in the group who are very talented vocalists, and so that's rare. You have multiple people who could carry a lead if you wanted to. So I wanted to know, sort of, when you're writing, how do you develop these vocal parts and split them up, or is it whoever brought the song in? How does that work?
We actually focus on vocals a lot. When I write a demo or something, I'll try to add vocal harmonies on my own. Like, I think this is what we would do. But what inevitably ends up happening is um, my little demo will get to the guys, and Pete and Scott and sometimes Brian or even Pat. They'll be like, hey, I'm kind of hearing like we should do something here. But Pete really, I'd say, is probably the biggest pusher of vocal harmony ideas. Like, he'll at rehearsals or whatever, he'll be on the piano and he'll be like, hold on, let's try this, and he'll kind of map out a vocal harmony. So we put a big focus on that, and especially, I mean, we thought we put a big focus on it on our last album, Triumphia. And, there's obviously vocal harmonies everywhere on that. But for this one, we had a couple of goals that we wanted to meet as far as vocals go. And that was, we're not going to stop recording until we have the take on all vocals. And there will be no auto tune. Not that there was before, but like, there could have been. So we just really wanted to nail it and have layers upon layers upon layers. And then live, obviously, we still got to be able to produce what we do on record live. So we really work on it. So I'm glad you noticed that. That's for sure. I don't want to say that there's not a lot of bands doing it anymore, because there are, but I don't know. We're like, if Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young had a lot of heavy metal guitars and drums going on. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a great song is a great song. I'm a big fan of saying that as a learned student of many years of music. If
Mhm.
you can make a structure of a song work almost in any genre, with a few exceptions.
Right.
So at least our Western music. So were you guys able to work on this stuff in person, or was this a lot of file sharing and trading over, Dropbox
Um,
and Google Drive and things?
Most of it is in person. For the most part, like, our writing process is this: I come up with the demo, and then the band adds to it or subtracts to it. There's been a few examples of where we've actually written a song together wholly, but no, in this instance, it was all in person. Like, we were kind of getting together before we were allowed to just to kind of work on the new material, and be ready for when we could go out and play shows and stuff. So yeah, obviously at that time, vaccines were just starting to come out. We could trust each other and all that. Like, yeah, hey, if you're not feeling good, don't show up. But yeah, most of it was in person. And like I said, a lot of it was pre-pandemic, on this album anyway. So yeah, so it just kind of worked out to where we could all do it in person.
This is weird, but I had a really great question come into my mind from something I saw on Twitter earlier, which musician I'm friends with opined is they're progressive bands. Do you really need a 20-minute song ever? And not on this record, but you had a
Yeah,
few, and most great bands do. And I come
yeah,
from that era of where a lot of people wore capes and made 25-minute songs, or
yeah.
then you have your next 20 years Dream Theater and Porcupine Tree and Riverside and other, across different iterations of this genre. So I'm going to ask you,
Sure.
what is the value of a very long prog song, without
In
disparaging anybody, unless you
in
want to put someone on the spot?
Oh yeah, if you mean if I want to say something that'll get me clicks, like, oh,
Nah.
Tony from ISD thinks that Yes sucks. That's not
Yeah.
true, by the way.
Yeah.
But
Oh no. Yes, is one of my favorite
no,
bands ever.
I love Yes. And actually, I have a John Anderson story that I can tell. But
Oh.
as far as long songs, like, yeah, on Triumphia, we have a 23-minute long song. That was literally a goal. I was like, I want to write a song that's 20 minutes long because you know what? Some of my favorite bands have done it, and fuck it, I'm gonna do it. but at the same time, I didn't want to write something that was just 20 minutes for the sake of being 20 minutes long. I felt like it was something that kind of made sense. In the case of Arborist Calm, the 23-minute long song, it builds up. It's got this acoustic intro and it's the happy ending to the story because that was a concept album. But I also wanted to do musical shit that kind of jump back to musical themes that were happening earlier in the album and then tie that shit together, which is what we did. So
You go tell naysayers, you go tell Robert Fripp or Rick Wakeman, or they can't write a 20-minute song, or they shouldn't.
no,
No, I
no,
mean,
no.
like, yeah, yes, there's a guy on my staff who loves progressive music, and he's a kind of sort of proggy metal band, and he's like,
Yeah.
dude, I can't do like long. He's like, no, no, he's turned down to do Dream Theater. He's like, nope, I won't. I was like, all right, like, that's usually not the reason people don't want to do Dream Theater, but
Yeah.
no disrespect to anybody, but yeah, that's just a fun question that popped up in my feed. I was like, I'm gonna ask the next band that
Yeah.
question. I'm gonna
Yeah.
talk about this. Yeah, kind of a wide variety of things. Nightshade's a little long, 12 minutes, but like none of the rest are egregious.
Right, right.
None
It's a
of
good
them.
word for it. That's how I
Yeah,
would
right.
describe it too.
Our genre, we get tagged with being self-indulgent and pretentious, which is like some of the pretension of the genres. Look at what pretentiousness gave us. Rush
Yeah.
and,
Yes.
Genesis, and Peter Gabriel wearing a fox head, and
Yep.
you know these four-sided live albums. If I,
Give it all to me.
yeah,
I
we'll take it.
I
We'll
love that
we'll
stuff.
take it all. What was your original inspiration? What were the things that made you want to make music?
Well, when I first started, I actually never wanted to be the lead singer, which is hilarious because I actually was lead singing on my very early like guitar playing demo things. I grew up on Nirvana and Stone Temple Pilots and Green Day and that stuff. That's like where I started. And that's when I got a guitar. And like I had this really old school tape recorder, cassette recorder. You hit play and record at the same time. And I'd sit there in my room with my guitar and I'd play and I'd sing at it. I'd be like, the songs were terrible and no one will ever hear them. But that's kind of where I started, was like, the Nirvana and the 90s stuff. And then that eventually morphed into Metallica and Megadeth and Dream Theater and so on.
Right on. I hear some Mustaine stuff in there, the guitar stuff. I mean, the spider chords. You
Yeah.
can't you can't they're unmistakable Mustaine isms.
Right.
Any chance I can to talk about his guitar stuff over everything else, I'm all about it. So,
Yeah.
always with a lot of respect. Still probably can't top Rust in Peace, but yeah,
No.
man, that makes a lot of sense talking to you. And what was the first like song or riff you ever learned? I'm out of curiosity.
Actually it was Plush by Stone Temple Pilots. Yeah. My buddy he had gotten a guitar before me and he was taking lessons and he's like, watch this. Dun, dun, really shitty. Dun, dun. I was like, that's so awesome. I want to do that.
That's amazing. Rob DeLeo, man. I know he's the bassist in that band, but he wrote that. That's his
Mhm.
song, and that's his whatever those suspended chords are. Dude, like change the game. Still, like they're still a great band. I love them.
Dude, the DeLeo brothers are awesome. Any band with brothers in it, they're probably great no matter what by default. But like I love Stone Temple Pilots and I love Tiny Music too, as
mm,
much as people shit on that album. It was just so creative and I just love their chemistry.
you
Eric
can't put,
Kratz too on drums, like
he
good
is
stuff.
very underrated, and I'm a big fan of Jeff Gutt, their new singer. The recent
Yeah,
stuff they've done with him is excellent.
it's
I'm
Michigan man.
always rooting for them. He is. I'm
Yeah,
always he's a Michigan guy. That's right,
yeah,
Michigander. Is that
yeah.
accurate?
Yeah,
Michigander.
Michigander.
All
That's
right,
accurate.
sorry, I don't want to fuck it up, but
No, you're good.
they hate you in Detroit, Keefy. They
Oh,
hate you. I hope not.
yeah.
I like always. We have some staff there. I dig the place. Midwest for the win. So yeah, that it's cool to hear what made you you in the first place, and now to today. In a given time, obviously there haven't been shows, but let's say you guys were doing a record release show soon. You might be. How much like woodshedding do you need to do? Like how much do you play daily?
For the band, we are actually doing an album release show here on Saturday, April 23rd. It actually just literally 2 hours before this call got moved from Friday the 22nd to the 23rd. That's a whole thing, but anyway, yeah, so we're prepping for that. And anytime we're prepping for a big show like the CD release or a tour, or let's say we're opening for someone, and we don't want to suck, we are once a week as a full band, sometimes twice a week if we can handle it, because we all have kids and careers and shit. And then myself personally, I work a lot, which stinks, you know. So if you like the album, tell everyone about it. Tell everyone. I'll practice a lot. I will practice daily because I don't want to suck. We actually played a show a couple months ago. It was like in January. It was fun. We headlined, and no one in the audience would tell you otherwise, but like we sucked. And so because of that, we have been working our dicks off on this one, getting ready for our album release.
Are you just hard on yourself, or do you really think you were subpar?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think in that instance, you know, I mean, it's just a local show, so it's not like we're on tour and like all of our buddies are there, and you know, you get a little loose, maybe have a beer or too many before you go on, or whatever the case may be. You're too busy to rehearse on your own, and whatever it was, we just weren't super tight, which is what we, you know, strive to be. So that's what happened in that case.
I used to have many two beers, too many beers or too many absolutes before the show, and then I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
"Oh, this is why I don't do music. I don't make music much anymore because wow." But yeah, that's fun. Obviously looking around your studio room there, what's your favorite piece of gear or favorite guitar behind you there?
Well, it's not in frame, so I'll get it.
Oh, all right, cool. Let's see it.
This is my Fender Stratocaster.
Word.
It's not my main guitar. This Fender or Ibanez Prestige behind me is my main guitar because we play in um like a drop C tuning. But this guitar, when I got like a good job, I saved up for it, and this was custom. So I know it's like not really that big of a deal as far as Fender Stratocasters go, but I chose the pick guard, I chose the finish, I chose the neck, and it's an HSS or humbucker single single, and that's what I wanted. And so this thing plays like a dream. Like I was actually just talking to my buddy Kevin the other day, and just like, dude, like when I play this thing, it's I fly on it, you know. And I'm not like the world's fastest player, but man, I feel like it when I play this guitar. So
That's awesome.
definitely,
What's your whammy bar locking system setup like on that thing?
it's complete trash. It's it's just your regular standard Fender whammy bar. So this thing, I don't use it much. Because it'll knock my shit out of tune. Not, I mean, not like bad, but like, you know,
Yeah, on
noticeable.
the
Uh,
Fenders.
right, right. But on the Ibanez, I can go to town on it because it's a Floyd.
Right. I was gonna say I have a gut feeling. I was not prepared for that trash answer, by the way. Thank you. I needed to laugh today, but I was gonna say I had a sense that maybe once in a while there's like a little whammy rhythm action, like a Gilmore or
Mm-hmm.
or a Lifeson, where you might incorporate the whammy into chords and things. I feel like I'm hearing that sometimes.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of like the only time I'll use that thing. And actually, I don't normally have the whammy bar on there either, but yeah, you know, it's there. I have it, so why not?
Right on. As we wind this down, I love to end these interviews with a wild card question. And so a wild card question I have picked out for you is the desert island disc question. Except for me, it's the spaceship playlist. So Elon calls you and he's like, "Hey, I got one more seat on the spaceship. You want to get on, but you gotta travel light, so you can only take 5 records with you
Oh, I
for
get 5.
eternity. We're going to space. I don't know when we're coming back. So this is it. Can you pick? What's like your favorite go to 5 records?"
Number one is going to be Dream Theater's Scenes from a Memory. Let's see, probably Master Puppets by Metallica. I don't know which Devin Townsend album, but probably Terria. That's the one that started it for me. Like got me into him.
Mm.
Genesis, probably, if not selling England by the pound, then probably their live album from 73. This is the hard part. It could be anything from Nirvana to Frank Zappa to Meshuggah, but I guess if I just have to pick one right now, let's go Joe's Garage, Frank Zappa.
Classic
Fuck it.
Zappa. You know, I don't know if you saw the documentary from last year or a year and a half ago from Alex
I didn't. I
Winter.
didn't
You
get to.
should. You
Yeah, I
should see
know.
it. Everybody should see it. That guy was leagues ahead of all of us.
I
It's
know
like
he was.
we
He's a
were we were
freak.
playing with marbles, and that dude was doing chess,
Yep.
musical chess,
Right.
and a brilliant guy. And yeah, man, that's a terrific list. This has been a terrific chat with you, Tony from Imminent Sonic Destruction. The new album, The Sun Will Always Set, is coming out April 15th. All the best success to you. Stay safe. Keep making good music. We'll keep coming back for it. And this was a lot of fun. And we'll do it again next time, maybe in person or with some other, we'll have some more laughs.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you very much. And Ghost Cult, like, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you. Take care.